It's race number 2 time here from Sugo, the Sportsland Sugo circuit in Japan, for the second weekend or the second race of the Japan Cup, the first weekend of the season. We've already had the AM starting race 1 earlier on in the day. It's now time for the pros to start their race. But before they do, festivities on the grid and the traditional sparrow dance, or the Suzume de Gozaru. Always a great cultural thing to have at the start of every race in GT World Challenge Asia and also in Japan Cup. A celebration of where you are. And this sparrow dance, Suzume Adori, is a very traditional dance from this area of Japan, Sendai. It was initially for celebrating the Sendai Castle by mimicking sparrows, which are the birds of good fortune in Japan. And great to have the dance group Yagiyama Suzume do Gozaru performing the sparrow dance for us on the grid. A grid of 15 cars, should have been 16, although unfortunately the K-Tunes Chevrolet didn't last too long during the weekend. We are going to be going to Fuji next time with Japan Cups supporting GT World Challenge Asia. Then it's Okayama for their second Power Tour weekend, and they will finish their season in the middle of September as a support to the 1,000 kilometers of Suzuka. It is the premier GT3 racing series in Japan, organised of course by SRO. And it's a great place to start the weekend. Sportsland Sugo, a circuit of 3.58 kilometres in length. It's actually on a facility of 1.2 million metres square that has 4 different racetracks, including a motocross track and a go-kart track. But facility is great for GT3 racing. Our lap record is still from last year. We didn't quite manage to beat it in race 1. And with temperatures dropping slightly in the afternoon sun, perhaps conditions better to do that this afternoon, especially with our pro drivers in the cars with fresh tyres at the start of the race. A healthy breeze, as you can see by the fluttering flags on the grid. And that breeze dropping the temperatures from 25 degrees down to 21. Hannah is our pit reporter for this weekend. Let's go down to her, who has Ukyo Sasahara.
Hello, I am here with Ukyo Sasahara from P1 for race 2. レースではファステストを取りました。レース2はどんな流れでいきますか？
はい、ポールポジションからスタートできるので、まず1コーナーはトップで通過したいです。その後ペースは多分いいと思うので、なるべくマージンを作れたらいいなと思ってます。
ありがとうございました。頑張ってください。So he says that he just needs to be careful about turn 1, and then after turn 1, if he can create a gap from there, he has a very, very good pace in the Porsche, so he should be able to pull away from everyone.
Absolutely true. He was incredibly strong, even in race 1, where he chased down Yamashita, but decided or realised that it was really going to be very hard to overtake. So with that pole position and clear track ahead of him, this should be a better position to start for him. Here are the highlights from race number 1. And it was Max Racing alongside Corners Racing down into turn number 1, with all of our AM drivers being very well behaved through the first couple of turns. Maezawa losing 1 position to the McLaren. And for much of the first stint, it was very, very calm running from our AM drivers. No challenges, no particularly strong efforts to overtake. Uematsu stayed in fifth position in that McLaren. Further back, it was the 82 Cayman that led in GT4. 3 GT4 cars duking out that category. Then we started to get some action as Suriname in an out-of-place Audi R8 started to cut through the pack, firstly passing Norrick. He'd already made contact with Betty Chen, and that would give him a 5-second penalty. Maezawa went round for a second time and therefore had to try and get into the pits as quickly as possible to change his driver and get his pro driver in during the pit window. One lap later, the 24 came in, gave away a lap, and that was enough for it to lose. Well, it was never in the lead, but it looked as though coming out of the pits, he could have led. It was so very close with Corners Racing, and ultimately had it pitted at the same time, I think it might well have jumped for number one, instead slotted into second spot. Then the push was on. Ukyo Sasahara in the incredibly nimble new Porsche 911 GT3R chased down Yamashita, our two-time Super GT champion, but could not find a way past the McLaren. Up ahead though, lights to flag it was for Corners Racing, for Suzuki and Kawabata. They would take victory in the end by just 1.8 seconds. It was a controlled victory over the number 24. And they take success penalties into this second race of the day. Just a reminder then, the top three from this morning's race will have success penalty, including this car, Motojima, 10 seconds extra in the pit. As also a new driver to this championship and a very successful driver in Japan, Kenta Yamashita, very, very strong, and he will carry 5 seconds. Let's go down to him now with Hannah.
Hello, I'm here in the GT3 overall class P4 with Yamashita Kenta and advisor Ito Daisuke. あまり GT3 乗ってる姿は見たことないんですけど、ジャパンカップ走ってみてどうですか？
GT3 自体は12、13年前に GT300 で1回だけ乗っただけで、久しぶりに金曜日乗ったんですけど、マクラーレンも乗りやすくて、特に違和感なくもう慣れることができました。
So he says that he hasn't driven the GT3 in over a decade, but the McLaren's very, very easy to drive, so that he's going to do a great, great job. Daisuke 監督、伊藤監督、どんな走りを見たいですか、2人から。
いやもう2人ともすごく優秀なドライバーですし、アグレッシブに、トップを狙ってもらいたい気持ちもあるんですけども、まだ今週始まったばっかりですから、確実に、表彰台を狙えるように、しっかりと、頑張って走ってほしいと思います。
ありがとうございました。頑張ってください。はい。So he says that he wants to see a very good driving from them, aggressive driving from them, and make sure that they can go for the top and get a win.
Daisuke Ito, I didn't realise he was involved actually in that effort, the team manager and the 2007 Super GT champion. Now still a gold driver, so certainly could still do some racing. We've seen him race at Le Mans back in 2008, but hasn't competitively raced since 2017, where he was racing for Lexus. But even in 2014, he was runner-up in the Super GT Championship. And great to see that he is advising a two-time Super GT. I would argue that Kenta is possibly more successful than Ito. But they have 3 Super GT championships between them. There is the successful Lamborghini, the number 19, taking victory in the AM category. And they also line up on pole position. Hamaguchi very, very strong. Let's go back down to Hannah, who's made her way down to GT4 now.
Hello, I'm here with P2 from the GT4 class. GT4 でSugoを走って難しいところありますか？
そうですね。でもスープラではたくさん走ってるので、走っていてすごく楽しいです。
He says that he has a lot of experience driving the GT4 at Sugo in the Supra, so he says it's a very, very fun car. この後どんなレースを想像してますか？
ポルシェが速いんで、なんとか追いつくように頑張ります。
He says that the Porsche is very, very fast, so he's going to do his best to keep up with them and maybe go for a win. ありがとうございました。
Yuki Kinomoto there, the 35-year-old from Yokohama. Also an incredibly successful driver. Funny to see him in the GT4 category, but of course he is a Toyota Gazoo Racing Works driver and therefore is being kind of placed in that Supra to try and get a result for the team. No representation, as we say, from Toyota in terms of the Toyota Gazoo Racing brand. We used to have the Indonesian brand in the championship, but not at the moment. And so great to have the support from Toyota there. Plenty of Super Taiku success for Yuji Kinomoto. He also won the Super Formula Championship all the way back in 2016. You have to go back. And obviously Super Formula, effectively your Formula 2 of Japan, an incredibly fierce car to drive. His early years in Japanese racing, very, very strong. And it just sort of replicates all those people we've just talked about, shows just how strong this championship is. The level of pro driver is, yes, it is Japanese national level and the very best there, but Japanese level of driving, Super GT, Super Formula, that's really not considered a national level. It's much more considered international level, and you get so many international drivers coming over to Japan to compete in Super GT, in Super Formula, to hone their skills, to give themselves somewhere to go. They've done GP2 or maybe GP3, Formula 2, Formula 3. They come over here because it's a next step before going into Formula 1. Certainly, if you look back 10, 15 years. And so it shows that, yes, they are all Japanese on the grid. We don't have any international drivers in Japan Cup, but that level is very, very high. Kawabata will start the number one in P2. He will be desperate to get ahead of Sasahara. He actually has, interestingly, the racing line going into turn number one. So he can sort of squeeze Sasahara. Remember, Sasahara finishing in 4th position doesn't have any success penalty either, whereas the number one has 15 seconds. This car has 10 seconds, the number 24, and then the 88 has 5 seconds to be served in the pits. And so everything points to a Bingo Racing win here. There is Mr. Spaceman, Mr. Miyazawa, getting himself prepared for his stint later on, the AM driver in the 555 car. And we are soon to be getting the cars underway and rolling for 2 formation laps, as is per the supplementary regulations. It's become a bit of a thing now in Japan especially, and the Asian SRO series. Not quite sure why it's not been written into the regulations so that they lose time, because they all end up losing about 5 minutes of race time by having a second formation lap. Effectively, they do one that's not under the clock and a second which is, and then the second they do a rolling start side by side. Ooh. The McLaren's door there not open. Not shut. So keep an eye out for the McLaren. Just pulled off the grid there, and you can see the door open and then shut again. And it is still open. That McLaren has a problem. Look at the door. It is not shut properly, and Yamashita will be bolted into that car so tight, it will be very, very hard for him to get to the door. Meanwhile, here are the pole sitters across our different categories. Door still open as the McLaren comes through shot. Uh-oh. Pole position in GT4 to the Porsche. Lamborghini in GT3 AM as per the last race. And then Bingo Racing have the pole position for the race in GT3 Pro-Am. And this is how it lines up right now. It will be Ukyo Sasahara alongside Shitaro Kawabata in the number 1. Naoki Yokomizu in the Ferrari Evo 296 GT3 in 3rd position. Yamashita should start in 4th position, with Motojima in the Mercedes in 5th, and Shinji Takagi in 6th position in his K-Tunes Ferrari. Then Takubamba 7th, and then the Lamborghini, which is an all-AM entry, in 8th position. Interestingly, the pole in the AM category, but has the pace against some of the other cars. Yamasaki for Ponos Racing, that 45 car in the AM category this weekend. Then Ota, then Tanaka. And a reminder that the Audi didn't get a lap in qualifying, but interestingly has been put ahead of the GT4 cars, so doesn't start too much further back than where they started race 1. Jake Parsons will start that car. Watch for the Audi to carve through the field, certainly on those early laps. And there are the 3 GT4 machines. Now, I think McLaren has continued. It hasn't come into the pits, so that would suggest that perhaps they have got that door shut. Let's have a look. Now it comes through the shot. And it does look as though they are now good to go. Well done to Kenta Yamashita. We have onboard cameras all the way across the field. Yamasaki in the 45 will carry an onboard camera. We've also got an onboard camera on the pole car, the number 9, Uke Sasahara. Starting now to bunch up the field. 20 degrees, the sun is starting to cool. Track temperature actually has gone up a little bit now that we've got cars rolling on the track. Sasahara is going to control this field and try and get the jump on the number 1. Not quite sure what that marshal is showing on the right hand side. Quite see through the window there. A kart track in the background, looks like a great kart track to me. And now this big uphill climb up to 70 meters of altitude difference from the highest to the lowest point. There's a bit of space between our cars, not too bunched together. Kenta Yamashita giving himself some room with the car ahead. Waiting for those lights to turn from red. There's a big gap between the first and the second row. Kawabata may be definitely jumping the start there, and Kawabata goes into the turn 1 as the leader of the race, but surely is going to be penalised for that. Miles ahead of the rest. And it's always difficult with a rolling start with the front row, but Sasahara holding back, holding the field together. Takubamba trying to find a way through further back in the middle of the pack as Motojima challenges Yamashita for 4th position. But surely that's a massive error from the number 1. Obviously felt like he could go faster. You have to hold a consistent speed down the main straight. Maybe the investigation will be that Sasahara was going too slowly. Certainly his side looked like that they were going a bit slower than the other side. But that dream of having clear track ahead of him and scampering off into the distance for Sasahara is going to have to wait a couple of laps until race control decide. They are investigating it. It's half a second difference between Kawabata and Sasahara after just one lap. But we know that Porsche is very, very strong. Watch Takubamba here for 7th position, trying to find a way past Takagi. Very, very close between the two of them. Bamba has to go to the outside. Takagi defends on the inside. No way through, and that is exactly, especially with these pro drivers, the challenge of this Sugo circuit. Really, really hard to find a way through. Meanwhile, Kawabata at the head of the field, trying to get the hammer down, trying to put in a strong lap at the start of this race. Not quite sure it's going to build much of a gap. It could well be in vain. Bamba not found a way through on Takagi yet. Has another look. This is another opportunity to get an overtake down into this turn, but it's tough. Yokomizo in 3rd position. Here is the start, and look how far ahead Kawabata is. I mean, he's almost 2 full car lengths ahead of Sasahara. The only question will be whether Sasahara was going too slowly. The only defense that Kawabata can have. Row 2 was absolutely fine. They were both side by side. I don't really know. Don't know what Kawabata would have been thinking. Race control have the opportunity to have a look at the speeds of the cars, and that will be the defining point. Has Sasahara hung back, or was Kawabata going too fast? Either way, a couple of laps before that investigation will be finalised, and that's a couple of laps where Sasahara doesn't have clear track. A 20.046 for Kawabata. Sasahara 0.3 of a second slower. Yokomizo another 0.4 of a second slower. Further back, good battles. We are expecting the Audi to cut through the field. He's already got past 2 cars. And now on the tail of Hamaguchi in the AM. And actually, Hamaguchi has lost the lead in AM to Yamasaki. So not only here are we watching Jake Parsons, but we're also watching the battle for AM. And the Lamborghini has very, very strong straight line speed down this main straight, but the Audi looked like it was good out of that final turn, and not quite close enough. Neither is Takubamba to make a move on Takagi. Those two go through turn number 1. No problems at all. Bamba's going to be frustrated with this. Also, further back, line astern from those 3. So really tough to find any way of overtaking at the moment. You need to force your competitors into mistakes. Good change of direction from that Lamborghini. But this is now the next opportunity for Jake Parsons, perhaps, coming out of these double right-handers onto the back straight of 700 metres. The Lamborghini gets a little bit squirrely, loses a bit of traction by going over the curb. There's less than a car's length between the Audi and Lamborghini, but onto the brakes in the middle of the track as well, you see. So even as well, the track being narrow, you also sit in the middle of the road, and it's really, really hard to overtake. But all of this concentration from Hamaguchi on the Audi behind is allowing Yamasaki to get away. He's allowing Yamasaki a little bit of breathing space in 8th position. 10-second time penalty for being out of position for the number 1, but it's going to be served in the pit lane. It's going to be served at the pit stop, and that is bad news for Sasahara. Bingo Racing will not be happy with that, because it means that Sasahara cannot make any kind of influence on this race versus the number 9. The idea would have been for Sasahara to get ahead of the number 1, make a gap over the rest of the field for Takai, who definitely isn't as strong. The AM in the number 9 is not as starring, let's say, as Sasahara has been. And in a straight fight, Suzuki versus Takai, you would suggest that Suzuki has the legs. So that's disappointing for Sasahara, that yes, there's a penalty, yes, there's a problem, but it's been dealt with in a way that means he still has a car in front of him. Oh, a little bit close between our two competitors. Hamaguchi having half a look down the inside of Yamasaki. Didn't work out for him. Jake Parsons might let these two go for it for the moment and just watch. Although he is losing ground to Takubamba and Takagi. A 4-second gap between these three, and Bamba in 7th. Over the line to complete another lap. Really difficult, isn't it, to try and get enough momentum to get down the inside into turn number 1. Almost need to create an error through the final turn. Of course, we had wet races last year, didn't we? So there was a lot more scrabbling for grip on the Ponos Racing Ferrari. Really not good through the chicane. That's compromised the Lamborghini, and Jake Parsons has a look up the inside, but there's no space there. Lamborghini of Hamaguchi sitting on the coattails of the 45 Ferrari through turn 7, number 8. Now on the back straight. Has he got enough speed? I don't think he has. Even though the Lamborghini is good, he's going to have to be so brave on the brakes. And there just isn't the space. The Lamborghini then offline into turn number 9, and that compromises his exit. Knowing that the rest of the lap, there really isn't any opportunity to overtake. Just almost needs to put the 45 offline into 12. Almost force him to defend. That'll compromise the speed through 13. That'll compromise the speed up the hill, over the brow and onto the main straight, and maybe then enough of an advantage. Although Hamaguchi does look closer now. Going into turn number 1, Yamaguchi's good on the brakes, turns in, claims his line, and Yamasaki continues to hold on to 8th position. This is a great battle. No space once again. Now, this is where particularly the Lamborghini is better through the chicane. Hamaguchi riding the chicane, running wide, able to carry more momentum, shorten the racetrack. Remember, we talked about this in race number 1, where crawling over the curbs means the circuit is straighter, you can go faster. Also, by the way, when you're on a curb, it almost digs the outside wheels more into the tarmac. It gives you a little bit more traction if you don't upset the car by bouncing over the curbs. And that's what the Bingo Racing Porsche was so good at in race number 1. But Sasahara, much like in race number 1, can't do anything about the car in front. This time it's Kawabata. Yokomiso with Yamashita in attendance. Then a gap to Motojima in the Max Racing Mercedes. So a big gap of 4.5 seconds to Takagi and Bamba. Those two still locked together, but much like the Ferrari and Lamborghini battle, struggling to find a space to overtake. And these professional drivers know who's paying the bills. They know who is expecting to get into the car for the second stint, and they do not want to damage, nor do they want to end their race prematurely. That is not for the pro drivers to do. We are forming little battle packs, aren't we? Battle for first, battle for third, battle for 6th, and battle for 8th. Lots for our producer to keep his head around. But we also know that there needs to be an error. Much, much closer between the two GT4 cars. Good battle here. Porsche still leading, Suehiro, but Kunimoto doing a good job. Hamaguchi looking down the inside again. This time does distract the 45. And Yamasaki does not turn in when he should have done that. And that's put the Lamborghini into the clutches of the Audi. Two cars built on the same platform. The Lamborghini and Audi basically underneath the same, but with the body shell completely different, and actually the geometry of the suspension very different too. Oh. Sasahara just monstering the curbs. Now maybe it's traffic that will help. How far are we from Lapari? Waiting on the graphics to tell me, but we can't be too many laps away. We've still got about 20 minutes before the AM drivers will be getting into the car. So that potentially could be the way to shake things up a bit. Certainly not going to come from the weather. It's still 20 degrees, dry track, 43 degrees, almost like we are in the height of summer in Sugo. What a weekend to go racing in Sendai. But yeah. Oh, Porsche off the circuit, bouncing all over the dirt and dust, and that's compromised them massively. He'll also have horrible tyres going into turn number 1. Sasahara with a mistake. And suddenly, Kawabata can breathe easy, can relax the grip on the wheel, and it's come at an opportune time as well, because we are just about getting close to those GT4 competitors and the Lapari beginning. Wow. I mean, it just sounds awesome as well. Let's have a look again. How did this happen? I think just opening the steering wheel a little bit early, trying to eke out as much performance from the Porsche, and just ends up running a little bit wide. Lucky that grass is, I mean, almost brown dry, isn't it? It's so dry here. They obviously haven't had rain for a long time. And Sasahara not compromised too badly by that. Here are the two GT4 cars. Now, of course, they are going to be battling furiously. They're not going to be paying too much attention to what's going on behind, and I think that could be a good run from Kunimoto over the brow of the hill. Not quite close enough to make a move on the Cayman, but look good through that final turn, and it won't be long before the GT3 cars are with them. 1.1 seconds the difference between Kawabata and Sasahara. There they are, look, already there. Now, this could be a real challenge for our GT3 cars, because yeah, exactly, look at that. Kunimoto moves to the middle of the road to try and distract the Cayman in front of him. That's what he's concentrating on. He's concentrating on the battle. He's not concentrating on the GT3 cars behind. That has compromised Kawabata's momentum massively. Now they come through. No change further back in the battle for 8th position and the AM lead. Or has there been a change? Yes, there has been a change. Lamborghini has got ahead of the 45. And just when it was spicing up at the head of the field, it's also spiced up further back. Yamasaki struggling to hold on, and that has released Hamaguchi, and he's already scampering away. Must have happened at the first turn. It's the favourite passing place. And Jake Parsons now looking up the inside. Can't do it there. Let's have a look at what happened. Oh, and it was very early on. There must have been a mistake from the Ponos Racing Ferrari through the final turn. Maybe on that dust. Oh, Hamaguchi went very deep, but squeezed. Nice racing between the two of them. Squeezed Yamasaki in turn number 2. Said, you're absolutely not coming back at me. Great racing. And shows Hamaguchi's experience there. Look, this traffic also has concertinaed up the battle for 3rd position. Oh, actually, has there been a change there as well? There has been a change there as well. Yamashita ahead of Yokomizu. They must have been very close at the line. And has that been through traffic? It must have been through traffic. McLaren has got ahead of Ferrari. This is the battle for 1st position, but there's already been a change for 3rd. As I said, the traffic was definitely going to influence things And all the way down through the field, those two GT4 cars are influencing the GT3 pack. So Kawabata still leads, Sasahara's second. Kawabata with a big penalty now in the pits. 25 seconds it will be. Here comes the 97 of Takagi. He's all on his own. Where is Takubamba? Should be with him, but look, Takubamba getting compromised. This is also compromising, of course, the GT4 battle. Kunimoto desperately trying to attack and trying to get out the way of the GT3 cars, but that's badly hurt Takubamba. That's a good couple of corners where he's followed the GT4 car and can't use the power of the GT3 Ferrari. Now looks down the inside, gets past one. Now, will that help Kunimoto? Will he use the traffic? Will he use the Ferrari to try and compromise the Porsche? Porsche doesn't really get compromised, does he? And now cleaning off the tyres because he had to go offline. But that's hurt Bamba. That really has meant that he's lost ground to Takagi. Trying to have a look where the pass happened between Yamashita and Yokomizu. I think it must have been on the main straight because Yokomizu last lap was over a second slower than Yamashita. And if it was over the main straight, then that's more likely to be on the dirt and the dust that perhaps Sasahara picked up. Still super close between the two GT4 cars. Tsuruhiro and Kunimoto, yes, they're both pro drivers in a Pro-Am lineup. They've dropped Maya Orido by quite a margin. She, of course, is an AM driver. But no change, just like the GT3s. No change. So hard to overtake. You really need to force that error. And it just looks as though that Toyota is the faster car, but track position so key here in Sugo. Pit window, by the way, is going to open in about 2 laps time. That will allow anybody to come into the pits if they want, but it's more likely that the AM competitors will come in first. Hamaguchi and Yamasaki. Ooh, dust hanging in the air there. Someone's been dipping a wheel a bit far off the circuit. By the way, Hamaguchi has set his best lap. Now he's been released a 22.0. It's only half a second slower than Takubamba ahead of him. That is incredible pace from an AM driver. Although Hamaguchi has really good, strong success. He's also raced in GT World Challenge Asia and been very, very strong there. I think he raced alongside, my memory serves me, it was Eduardo Mutara that he raced with. Look how good that Toyota is. All over the back of the little Porsche. Also best laps from Motojima on the last lap. So he obviously has some clear track ahead of him. And this is a fantastic battle, but Hamaguchi coming up behind them on the flashers. Another opportunity to mix things up. Number one, Hamaguchi doesn't want to get held up. He's now established a 3.1 second advantage over Yamasaki. And actually easy pickings this time. Toyota goes, right, I'll have a bit of slipstream from you, thank you very much, and maybe you can open the door for me into turn number 9. Unfortunately not. But Kunimoto looks so good. It won't be long before Yamasaki and Jake Parsons come up behind them in that battle for 9th position. And that maybe opens an opportunity for the Audi once more. Jake obviously has backed off a little bit, or has tried less. Oh, so easy for Ponos Racing to get past the 2 GT4 cars. That's 1 done. That's 2. It's going to be much harder for Jake Parsons, who's quite far back. And Jake has to follow the 2 GT4 cars through turns number 1 and 2. And that compromised them even further. Oh, could this be a dive bomb from the Toyota? Is there a little bit of space? Cayman gave space to Kunimoto, and there's more space to the next turn. This is not what Jake Parsons needs. The two of them properly squabbling. Suehiro was very, very kind. Jake now jams it down the inside, but has to be really forceful about it. Runs a little bit deep as well. Jake last year racing in the GTC category. No challenge cars this weekend entered, but there is the opportunity to enter a Ferrari challenge car or a Porsche challenge Carrera Cup car and race in GTC. There's so many of those cars. In some categories around the world, it's a very, very successful endurance platform because, what is it? I think there's 21 or 18 Carrera Cup championships. I did do that maths once upon a time. You know, in each grid about 20 cars, and then every 3 or 4 years they change the car. So the teams need new cars. So what do you do with all the old ones? Well, establish a GTC category, and you'd have thought they'd come in droves. Much closer for the lead of the race. Sasahara looks to the inside of Kawabata. Not quite enough space, but definitely on the attack. We've got only 10 more minutes for Sasahara to make any impact here. Only 3.3 seconds the difference between Sasahara and Yamashita. And then 5 seconds to Yokomizu. Yokomizu without success penalty. Much like Sasahara, Yamashita does. And of course, Kawabata has success penalty from race 1 victory and an extra 10 seconds. So he is going to drop way down. I think he's going to be down in 10th position after the pit stops. It's got a huge amount of work for Suzuki to do. It's going to be maybe 8th, actually. Maybe 8th. Meanwhile, no change in GT4. Pit window is now open for anybody who wants to come in. Maybe we'll see, Maya Orido comes in, so that's not a surprise. We might also see Katsuki Ota and Atsushi Tanaka coming in as well, depending on how strong their AMs are. The 488 of Car Guy, Katsuki Ota, passing one of the GT4 cars. And should just about get to the second one quite easily into the turn in of number 1. Slightly compromised the Porsche, had to take 2 stabs at the turn in, and here goes the attack from Kunimoto. Oh, not quite the space, not quite alongside, but it's a great opportunity just to open the wheel and get a little bit more pace. Kunimoto has done everything he possibly can here. Going to be worth talking to post pit stop, I think, for Hannah. And I imagine that Sasahara will have a few things to say as well, because, yes, Kawabata has really compromised Sasahara's race plan. I think Sasahara could be going faster than he is if he didn't have that Ferrari ahead of him. He could have built a bigger gap for his AM driver, and Shinji Takai will take over the number 9 in the lead of the race, but he's going to be pursued by Mr. Maezawa in second, and probably Uematsu in third in the McLaren. That's my sort of predicted maths. Again, up and over the hill. The Toyota's so very strong, right on the rear bumper of the Porsche, but the Cayman has better legs down the straight, doesn't it? Builds an advantage. And everywhere else, the Toyota is better. Everywhere else, Kunimoto is crawling all over the back, trying almost to repaint the rear bumper of that Cayman in Supra colours. There just isn't the space. Again, so good over the curbs. Such a big difference. I think that's the biggest difference around this circuit. If you can run the curbs, then it makes a huge difference in your lap time. We see that with Sasahara And we're seeing that also here with Kunimoto. He's got an overlap this time though, has he? No, not quite. But he's really, really close, possibly closer than he's been before. Is there a space into the braking zone? Again, it's a no. Kunimoto trying to go around the outside of the Cayman. He's starting to get very experimental here. Wonderful battling to watch. I know we haven't had a pass, but the potential has been there for lap after lap after lap. And it's absolutely the most entertaining thing on circuit. There is an overlap between the two of them through the final turn. He's got just about a width, car width alongside. Can he get a side draft perhaps as Otta comes into the pits? No, he can't. Had to dab the brakes. I think he thought that the Cayman was coming across his bows there and put the brakes on. But a really good challenge, that one. Not quite close enough to try at turn number 3 this time. I mean, so much going on in the cockpit. Kunimoto will be thinking so hard. How can I do this? Where can I do this? But unfortunately, with only maybe 2 or 3 laps remaining before these two have to hand over to their competitors, any influence that Kunimoto could have had in building a gap over the Cayman is just not there. Lets the car run wide. There'll be a track limit infringement, but it's okay. Race control will give you a warning, but ultimately you need 4 or 5 before you get a penalty in racing conditions. By the way, just half a second separating Kawabata and Sasahara. So, and actually there they are in the back of shot, so they're coming up to this battle once again. This is going to get even spicier once more. Just before we go into pit window mode, the Supra gets a tighter line through the final turn. There's no real chance to undercut, unfortunately, because you're handing over to competitors. Well, I think this is not good for Kawabata. They may catch these GT4 cars at the chicane this time, and that's going to present opportunities to Sasahara and to Kunimoto. Tends to move into the middle of the road around these turns. On board with Kawabata, where do you go? He goes up the inside, he jams it up the inside of one car. That's crucial. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the two. Sasahara nudges the Ferrari. There's no way through. They have to be careful with the GT4 car. And I'm not quite sure that the GT4 car has seen them. Yes, he has seen both of them. Great move from Sasahara. He gets put on the grass because he thinks he turned in and there was a car in the inside that's compromised them massively because Yamashita's right there. But it puts Kunimoto up into the lead in GT4 and hopefully not too much damage now. We need to see that from the outside because that could also be a penalty for, it would be for Sasahara, I think, if it's adjudged that he has been too aggressive. Had to be aggressive. There was a little bit of a touch between himself and the Ferrari to keep on top of things. Oh no! And Team Pop Racer in the barrier. Kelvin Ho has spun on his outlap, I suppose. Pit window is open, and if we go safety car, you need to get in the pits now. No waiting for the next lap. Sasahara is not in the pits. Kawabata is. Yokomisu is. Yamashita is not. A split strategy here between our leading contenders. Now, race control may wait until the end of the pit window before calling a safety car, if it's safe to do so. But let's see what happened. Right, Ferrari goes down the inside, gets one position. That's the easy bit. There's a bit of contact there, but then where's the contact with the Porsche? Waiting, waiting, waiting. Through the next turn, Ferrari goes down the inside. And now, is it contact between... It is definitely contact between Sasahara and the Cayman. And I think Sasahara just bleeds the Cayman off into the gravel. Don't quite see it from that angle. Ah, shame. Thought we had the outside view there. So, not definitive. But was Sasahara too aggressive? And is there even going to be an investigation? What have they got down there in pit lane? Couldn't quite see if there was any spares going on the 82, if there's any damage to that car. Into the pits the rest of them come, because the window is now shutting. Don't forget the success penalty for the winner of yesterday's race, Kawabata. He's also got 10 seconds for the jump start. Nothing for Sasahara, nothing for Takagi or Maezawa. Yamashita has 5 seconds. Oh dear. Well, good news is the Mercedes is rolling again. Bad news is it's not going to be rolling very much further. Proper damage to the front end. Out of the pits comes Suzuki after that long extended pit stop. Shibata also with success penalty in the number 24. It's out on circuit already, the Mercedes. I don't know if race control are actually investigating that contact. It doesn't say anything at the moment. And there is a bit of car still left on the racetrack. Right, Sasahara handed over to Shinji Takai. In theory, should come out in the lead of this race, ahead of the number 88. Or no, actually, ahead of the 55, surely. 55 is out on circuit. Timing screens do take quite a while to update during this pit stop phase, so don't trust it too much yet. Here's the Lamborghini of Okura, down in 8th position. So Takai, at the moment, well, this is a battle, isn't it? Because this is Suzuki recovering, trying to get past Norik for 6th position. Norik now taking over, and that Ferrari has got such strong straight line speed. Taking over from Takubamba, a little bit wide. Is there a space for the number 1? Yes, there is. Thank you very much. Easy pickings for Suzuki, up to 6th. Now, pit window is closed. And we've got gravel on circuit. Is that a car off? No, that's a massive tyre failure, I think, for Betty Chen. Is it tyre or is it engine? Definitely tyre. 97, I was just having a look to see if she would stay in 3rd position. But Betty Chen has had a big failure there. Is that suspension failure, actually? Rear right suspension failure. The tyre is still good, it's still round, and I think somebody's been into the back of her there. And actually, it's not suspension failure, that's bodywork on tyre. So, somebody has made contact with her. Now, who would have been close to her? Mr. Maezawa may have been. I'm pretty sure they would have been close to each other. There is Maezawa. Maezawa under the rear wing of Uematsu. And that's the battle for 2nd position. So Takai is leading by just 2.7 seconds. Then it's Uematsu and Maezawa here battling over 2nd spot. And they've got the GT4 of Oyama in front of them. The leader in GT4. Sorry, not the leader in GT4. That's Makino in the Cayman. I wonder whether that Cayman is compromised. We are going to go full course yellow, I think. So standing by for that. Saying prepare for full course yellow. Hasn't been thrown yet. And that will give us an opportunity to take stock. Flags now flying on the side of the circuit. So we are going full course yellow. And we can breathe for a second. And perhaps we can have a few replays as to what exactly happened. Takai leads by 2.7 seconds over Uematsu and Maezawa. The 24 of Max Racing, the Mercedes, down in 4th position. 5th for Suzuki, but 14 seconds back. He got ahead of Norik. And the other car that had success penalty from race 1, it was Uematsu. So the McLaren team did a great job with that success penalty to stay in 2nd position. and just 2.7 seconds back from Takai. Could this be an overall victory for Uematsu in his debut weekend in Pro-Am? Such a disappointment for Betty Chen, because I'm pretty sure that 97 car was well up there post pit stop. Certainly seemed to be. Now, as race control obviously got different monitors to us. They've got CCTV around the circuit, so they can monitor different things. Interestingly, race control don't seem to be investigating the contact between Sasahara and the other Porsche of Suehiro. So, deeming it a racing incident, I imagine. And we've also lost in the pits the 66. The Ferrari 488 has retired of Kimura. So Kimura's done a lap. Now, okay, that may be we need to get an RF down to the 66, because I think that potentially it's them that's made contact with Betty, because there's certainly a bit decent contact with the rear end of the car, with bodywork all over it. Now, I think she's slightly freaked out because she's got bodywork rubbing on the rear wheel arch, but did the wheels get damaged? Or were the wheels all pointing in the right direction, and was it just smoke? And did she look at the rear wing and go, oh no, they've got so much smoke, I need to pull over, and actually it turns out it's just tyre smoke rubbing on bodywork. Either way, Kimura has pulled his car into pit lane. There's the leader in GT4 AM. And sometimes we get race control saying investigating certain things, but we're not getting them. So let's go down to Hannah. She's going to talk to the teammate of Oyama after a great first stint.
スティントお疲れ様でした。GT4 トップ争い本当に面白かったです。GT3 のトラフィックマネジメント影響ありましたか？
そうですね、それが運よく、自分のいいところで、GT3 来てくれたんで、トップの車はちょっと GT3 と接触してしまって飛び出してしまったんで、ちょっと運よく順位を上げられたんですけども、ただずっとポルシェとバトルできたんですごく楽しいスティントでした。
スープラの得意ところはコーナーどこありますか？
全体的にコーナーはスープラの方が速くて、ただストレートで離されてしまうのでなかなかオーバーテイクするチャンスがなかったんですけども、ただ本当コンスタントに走れたので良かったかなと思います。
ありがとうございました。So he said that there was a little bit of a good luck effect from the GT4 battling with the GT3 traffic coming in. So he was able to have some good luck today and pass the Porsche. He says that the Supra key point is that it's very fast in the corners, but it was very difficult to overtake after the long straights.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is balance of performance. That car, you can see actually how high it is off the ground, so it means that they can monster the curbs, but it doesn't have the straight line speed, and it's not as slippery. The shape is not as slippery as the Porsche as well. Now, safety car is out, so we're converting this full course yellow into a safety car. That is wonderful news for the Porsche Cayman. There it is, and it is going to, at the moment it's 50 seconds back from the Toyota Supra, but we were going to bunch our field together, and all the gaps established after the first part of the race are going to disappear. We will convert in a second. So Takai will be leading our field for the final 15 odd minutes. Uematsu in second, Maezawa in third. Now you see, I don't think that tyre is burst. I mean, there's clearly a lot of damage to the rear end, which is not ideal. but it doesn't look like the tyre is cut. And there's, I mean, looking around, I think we've seen most of the cars now. Looking around, there's nobody that has big front end damage. So I'm going to suggest, and it may be unfair, that the car guy Ferrari 488 of Takashi Kimura, which is also retired in the pits, but is we haven't seen yet, may have quite a bit of front end damage. Speculation, but I like to be a detective in these moments. Going to be fascinating once we get back going again. Takai, Uematsu, Maezawa, Shibata. Shibata very strong in race number 1. Suzuki, after that penalty for the number 1 machine, will be right on the tail of the top 5. And then Norik Okura, sorry. And then the Audi of Swimina in 8th position. Sujiku in 9th. And then Nishikawa in the Nissan. Now we go safety car. So weirdly, under safety car, the speed builds. And the idea of adding the safety car after a full course yellow is to build temperature back into the brakes and tyres. Because when you're going around at 60 kilometers an hour, you're not touching the brakes. And you're not really leaning on the tyres. So not so much that Takai can do. But the cars behind are able to go faster and build that tyre. Now it looks as though the 82 is caught behind our leading car, so it won't gain that all of that time back on the 11. That's a big shame. Had it been 2 cars ahead, it would have been waved by and it would catch the rear of the field. But the 82 is going to be almost a lap behind the number 11. And that's the GT4 battle. So that sort of spells the end for Makino. And once we get all the cars in a nice long queue, we will go racing. Right, what is being said there? Investigation between 9 and 82 is now happening. So race control are having a look at the contact between 9. Now look at the left hand side. I don't see there's any contact there. He just hasn't given the 82 any space on the outside line. Obviously it's Sasahara, not Takai. Hannah can go and chat to him and find out his opinion, but there wasn't any actual contact. It was just not given the space to continue around the circuit. But it has obviously massively killed the 82's race, and it is the responsibility of the passing car. It's not the responsibility of the car being passed to get out of the way. So that's one investigation going on, but nothing yet from race control regarding why Betty Chen is on the side of the circuit. On board with the number 1. Now this is number 1's view, but it's the contact between the 2 Porsches that is the important bit here. So watch the number 9. Unfortunately, we go on. I think we go on board at the wrong moment here. Yeah, we go on board now, and it's there where it's really difficult to tell from that angle. But the number 9 just basically moves to the normal racing line as though the 82 isn't there, and the 82 has absolutely nowhere to go. Race control will have CCTV of the exterior of that move, whether it's the right angle or not, because really tough to tell. But I would expect Sasahara to have had to be a little bit further to the inside to give the 82 space, and it seems from the onboard as though he's right on the curb. So one investigation that really needs to be tidied up in the next 10 minutes so that we know who our winners are. And to be honest, had it been done pre-safety car, then it might not have hurt so much, but post-safety car it could hurt a lot if there's a 10-second penalty. Takai going early. He's got Uematsu with him, but he's dropped Maezawa. Maezawa miles behind as we go back to green flag racing. But look at Uematsu, look at the McLaren. It's very, very strong down the main straight in comparison to the Porsche. And Uematsu may be able to find a way through for the lead of the race here. 10 minutes remaining. It's going to be a real dogfight for the victory. Uematsu not quite close enough to go up the inside there. Maybe into turn number 3. No, decides to follow the Porsche through turn number 3. But the gap is mammoth already, nearly 4 seconds to Maezawa. And he's got Shibata right behind him. And Suzuki. And in fact, has there been a change behind? I think there might have been. I think Shibata might have got past Maezawa. And the Mercedes up to 3rd position. Just waiting back. Yes, there is. An orange machine. Maezawa not strong on the restart. And Suzuki all over the back of him now as well. Maezawa needed to be woken up before that restart, didn't he? And now to the inside, Suzuki looks. Will that put Maezawa off? It doesn't. He keeps his head straight, looking forwards. But we know that Suzuki is very, very strong AM driver. And he'll be desperate to try and distract Maezawa. We saw mistakes from Mr. Spaceman in race number 1. He went round twice. And now through the final turn, a little bit wiggly and squiggly from the number 1. And so not quite able to follow as closely over the stripe. And therefore not quite close enough to jam it down the inside. Also a change for 6th position with Okura up ahead of Norrick on that restart. And now maybe down the inside of turn number 3. No. Maezawa doesn't give the space. This is particularly where Maezawa is struggling through the chicane, struggling to really get on top of the car. He's not muscling it, he's driving it, but he's almost slightly scared of it. Whereas you can see Suzuki, all big wide moment there from the white Ferrari ahead. And instantly Maezawa moving over. No further action between car 9 and 82. That's interesting. Good news for Takai. Maezawa defending where he doesn't need to defend. Look how much better the number 1 is. Surely there's an opportunity down the inside here. No, circuit too narrow. Oh, Maezawa wide. Maezawa opens the door and it's about making mistakes. He stays to the inside line though to try and hold on. They go side by side through 12 and 13. Here comes the Lamborghini of Okura as well. The Lamborghini is going to have a mammoth slipstream here. Maybe going to take 2 positions. Watch to the right hand side. Is there a Lamborghini there? Yes, there is. Takes 1 position at least. In the end, being on the outside line, work for Maezawa. Lamborghini late on the brakes, but splits the 2 Ferraris. Okura, great stuff. Remember, we are now in all AM mode. And we've got a great battle for the head of the field as well. Where to look? Takai leads Uematsu, but now Uematsu needs to be looking in his mirrors as well. 2 battles of 3 cars with 8 minutes remaining. What a race here in Sugo. Now, the Lamborghini of Okura needs to try and open that door. It was tough for Suzuki. There was mistakes, but Maezawa was able to hold on. Of course, Okura doesn't need to be fighting in here. He is leading the AM category healthily. Doesn't need to compromise that. And this is the battle for the lead. 3 cars. Uematsu has never stood on the top step of the podium overall. The last 2 years he's been an AM competitor. And he's got good straight line speed in that McLaren. Really good straight line speed. Big defense from Takai. Uematsu goes to the outside line. Takai holds the inside line. Maybe that opens the door for Shibata. He needs to be more clever than this. Shibata needed to try and take advantage of the cars out of position there. But he didn't. Oh, jams down the inside. That's a brave move. Great work from Shibata. Just as I say that he needs to take advantage, he does. And Shibata moves himself up into 2nd position. He's going to have a go. But at McLaren, it's the McLaren straight line speed down the main straight that's helping so much Uematsu. Meanwhile, in that second battle, no change. Maezawa, Okura and Suzuki. Norrick's lost 2 more positions, by the way. He's dropped down to 9th spot now. The Audi of Swinima and Suzuki both getting past. And even though these 3 are battling, they are still setting a much greater pace than the next 3. And that Porsche in the hands of Takai is nowhere near as strong, especially through that final turn. Can Shibata find a way through? Switches to the outside line. Now Uematsu needs to play the similar role. Nice switchback move. Not quite space there, but Uematsu might be able to slam it up the inside at 3. Again, not the space. But look at Takai, the way he's positioning that car in the middle of the road, making that Porsche so very wide. It's really going to be tough. Safety car investigation on the number 9. Now, what has he done? I mean, he did go early, but I don't think he overtook the safety car. But under investigation for safety car procedure for the number 9 machine. Our leader. And yet more things for the team manager there to deal with. Four and a half minutes remaining. Shibata up to second ahead of Uematsu, but no change in the second group. Again, through this final turn, the Mercedes looking really strong. Uematsu's not quite close enough, but surely the Mercedes is close enough to take the lead now. There's less than just about a car's length between the 2 of them. The Porsche holds that inside line. Surely maybe the switchback move. No, the Mercedes chooses the outside line. That wasn't a sensible place to go. Maybe jam it down the inside at 3. Again, not quite the space. But such is the defence from Takai. Surely there's space to switch back between turn number 1 and turn number 2. Mercedes had the overlap, but he was on the wrong side of the Porsche. Meanwhile, further back, Maezawa has got a bit of breathing space. He's got 7/10 of a second over Okura. And there's 6/10 to Suzuki. It looks relatively close in the back of shot, but it's not as close as this lot. Again, Takai, big defence on the inside line. There's the overlap for the Mercedes. And the McLaren carries some good momentum through the corner because he's not too close to the cars in front. But ultimately, there's no space. 3 minutes remaining. It's all about distracting the car ahead to make that error. We saw it with Maezawa earlier on. In the end, it came to nothing. Mercedes able to hold that tighter inside line mid-corner, open the steering wheel later. Oh, McLaren's a lot closer this time. Maybe Uematsu can upset the party here. Again, Takai defending strongly. Mercedes early on the brakes, now needs to carry the momentum through. Not thinking about a passing move into 2. Was he thinking about 3? No. Maybe 5. Again, Takai just sits in the middle of the road. How frustrating for the Max Racing Mercedes. These AM drivers are being so polite with each other, and now they are getting caught. Such a slow last lap, a 24 from that first group on the last lap, plays a 22, bringing Maezawa, Okura and Suzuki back to the party. And with every single lap, it seems as though Takai is more and more nervous. The inset shows the reaction of Sasahara, his teammate, who's been so good. Oh, there's an overlap further back. I think there might be a change or an attempt for a change of position between Suzuki and Okura. And Suzuki does look down the inside, but there isn't a change. Oh, that might work, actually. That might distract the Lamborghini. Yes, down the inside comes Cornez Racing Ferrari, back up into 5th position. McLaren on the tail of the Mercedes to try and get back up to second position. Ooh, a late second move there, not quite the space. Moving all over the road. The first three are a bit faster this time than last time. Maezawa is chill because he's got space now ahead of Suzuki, who's got himself back up to fifth. And this could well be the last lap. Maybe not. It's going to be tight, I think. Not many more opportunities. Maybe Suzuki, without the challenge of the Lamborghini behind, can mount something on Maezawa on the last lap. Just get the feeling. It's one of those tracks, isn't it? You just get the feeling there's something going to happen at any given point. It was the GT4 cars in the first part of the race, and post-safety car, these guys are absolutely nailed to each other. But ultimately, there doesn't quite seem the space or the track to be able to make the pass. We are going to get one more racing lap. One more opportunity for an overtake. Certainly into turn number one is the main place to do it. I don't even know if Takai needs to defend this time. He's right in the middle of the road. Uematsu late on the brakes, and Mercedes defending that, being late on the brakes, and closes up on the Porsche. But there's no space at all. Maezawa in fourth position, Suzuki in fifth. They're almost with these guys now. Incredible battle. It's almost peloton style racing. Oh, mistake from Uematsu there. That might pay to him. Shibata, that in that move earlier on, that's going to pay dividends, getting himself up into second position. It'll be interesting for the championship. Car 9's investigation will be decided after the race, so he is going to take the top step of the podium. No report on what happened to Betty Chen and any contact with another car. Oh, we got a slow GT4 car right on the wrong place. Rather patched up, trying to go around again. One final corner though, and Takai has absorbed the pressure of Shibata to take victory for Bingo Racing in LM Corsa in their new Porsche. They will be investigated after the race for their safety car start. Over the line though, it is Porsche ahead of Mercedes, ahead of McLaren, and a smile from Sasahara. They have done it in a brand new car with the best livery in the house. Checker flag falls for the Mercedes. Now, the reason why they've done that is because they've gone out and they'll pick up points for finishing in third position in GT4. Even if they are rolling around very slowly. The victory, though, in GT4 is going to go to this Toyota. It was such a great battle. I feel really sorry for the 82 being muscled off the circuit and then the safety car falling in the wrong direction for them. So there was never going to be an opportunity for Makino to fight back. But that does mean it's one apiece after the first weekend of Japan Cup. And what racing, especially that second race, was spellbinding and kept us on the edge of our seats throughout. Here comes Akiland and the Supra taking the victory in GT4. Kunimoto putting massive pressure on the Cayman throughout his first stint, and Oyama with an easy cruise to the flag. Now, how frustrated will Shibata be? I reckon he had the pace to take the victory. I think Uematsu did as well. In pure pace, Takai qualified, what, 9th position in the AM qualifying one. And some laps were very, very slow. But ultimately, Sugo not offering the opportunity for overtaking that Shibata and Uematsu needed. is the first overall podium for Uematsu, though. Plenty of AM podiums and victories over the years, but it will be his first overall podium, sharing it with Yamashita. And coming into the pits now to celebrate with their team. A very well done to Bingo Racing, LM Corsa, Takai and Sasahara. You get the feeling that they've still got some work to do to make this car easier for Takai to get a handle on. He's a stronger driver than we've seen, obviously having to adapt as well, because Bingo Racing had the Corvette and then they had the Ferrari. And that's real emotion down there in Parc Fermé. He's held on.
One more here. Thank you.
Absolutely having to drive with his mirrors all the way through.
Thank you.
And only 0.2 of a second in the end separating themselves and the Mercedes of Shibata. As our AMS victory once again get themselves ready for the podiums. Winner in GT4 Pro-Am Akilan Racing. As we covered off, a cruise to the flag for Oyama-san. Oh, okay. And I don't actually know whether Kelvin Ho will be classified. He was 19 laps down on the victory. So it may be that even though they went out and cruised around, he won't be registered as a GT4 AM winner. No, he is there because they crossed the flag. So even with a shunt, he is considered the winner in GT4 AM, GT3 Pro-Am for Bingo Racing, and the Lamborghini once again winning the AM category, finishing in 6th position. And look at that. Look how tight it was. First to 6th, 3.1 seconds. Then a big gap to them, Audi. Look forward to seeing what they can do when they're trouble-free. Honos Racing in 8th, Norwich Racing in 9th, then the Nissan in 10th position. And we did have retirements from K-Tunes Ferrari, Betty Chen, from the Car Guy Ferrari. We don't know what happened with Kimimura. And then obviously the Mercedes back out on circuit by the end to register a finish. Let's go down to Hannah, who has our winners.
Hello, I am now here with the winners of race 2 Bingo Racing. 武井選手、セーフティーカーリスタートの後、結構プレッシャーを感じたと思いますが、何を意識して走ってますか？
いや、どうだろう、本当にプレッシャーどころの話ではなくて、ストレートがちょっとうちの車遅いんで、どうやってこのすごい手強いライバルを抑え込むかっていうことだけ考えてたんですけど、ピットから的確な指示、いろいろ走行ラインであったり、回転数であったり、細かい指示がバシバシ飛んできたので、本当にクリップ外さずに、とにかく絶対抜かせないっていう強い気持ちで、あとは僕ら去年すごい最後の最後にどんどん尻すぼみになっていって、なんか本当に弱いチームになってってしまったんですけど、本当にそれのリベンジと、あと今年からポップアップレーシングとコラボして、メーカーのリバリーカラーをまとって、かっこいいカラーリングで走ってますし、今回ロリポップレーシングの皆さんもせっかくスゴに来ていて、本当に優勝できてすごい良かったです。あとは笹原選手、いつもながらすごいかっこいい走りで、
武井選手、
見てて安心しました。はい。
武井選手の走りを見てどう感じましたか？
いや、もう本当見てる方は寿命が縮むというか、心臓に悪い展開だったんですけど、でも去年もこういう展開あって、でもなんだろう、今回はちゃんと本当守りきってくれて、あと何より本当ミスなくきっちり最後までマシンを運んでくれたおかげでこういう結果が得られたと思うので、 本当にチームと武井選手、もうあと関係してくださる皆さんに感謝したいです。
ありがとうございました。So he says that more than the pressure, he was feeling that the car straight line is very slow, so he had to make sure that he was keeping up with the corner speeds, putting all of the sectors together, make sure not to make any mistakes. And he was feeling last year at Sugo, they felt they were not really in the best conditions, but from this year, it really seems like they're on the rise, and they're going to be collabing with Pop Racing. So please look forward to that collaboration. Sasahara Senshu was also very, very happy with Takei Senshu's driving, and hopefully they'll do even better in the next race.
I mean, they took a victory in a second position last year in Sugo, so if they were off the footing last year, but are on the footing this year, I don't know quite how they're gonna end up. They did take 2 victories in their Ferrari last year, the partnership of Sasahara and Takai, but unfortunately too many retirements meant that they were unable to challenge for the title. We'll go back down to Hannah now, who's going to have a chat with GT4 winners. And of course, that is the number 11 Toyota Supra.
Hello, I'm here with car number 11, the winners of the GT4 class. 今日のレースは昨日と比べてどうですか？
今日はね、プロからやったんでね、国本君がバンバン行ってくれて、ピットの時間も5秒ビハインドだったんで、SC も助けられてなんとかなりました。ありがとうございました。
ごめんなさい、日本語忘れました。英語の通訳お願いします。
通訳して。ピットもね、5秒僕らが短かったんですよ。
Okay. They had
SC も助けてもらって楽に優勝できました。
They had a very, very good luck in the pit stop today because it was 5 seconds slower. And then also with the safety car, they just had very good luck. So today was a race with a lot of good luck. ありがとうございました。
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Not sure we fully got the full translation there. Something going on that was rather amusing. But absolutely, luck on their side, that's for sure. And ultimately, you have to say that Kunimoto looked very, very strong. Here are the highlights then of Japan Cup race number 2, and a jump start from the number 1 Corners Racing, giving them a 10-second penalty. But more significantly, it would only be taken in the pit stop, which meant they were ahead of Sasahara in the Ferrari and in the Porsche, sorry, and not allowing Sasahara to stretch an advantage in that first stint. Sasahara tried very hard at points running off the circuit to try and eke out as much performance along the main straight, which is where they were strong. But we focused our attentions on the GT4 battle, which was so very good between the Cayman and the Porsche. But they came to blows when the leaders came through. Sasahara sniffed an opportunity to take the lead of the race and ultimately elbowed the little Cayman off the road. Going into turn number 5, it meant the Cayman ended up in the gravel and so far back that when the safety car came out, it split the pack and gave the Toyota a massive advantage. A long pit stop then for Corners Racing with a 15 seconds from yesterday and an extra 10 for jumping the start. And that would spell the end for their victory. The number 9 would then take over the lead of the race. Betty Chen had contact with another car and that punctured the rear right tyre and caused some damage to the rear right corner. It brought out the safety car, and when we went back to green flag racing, we had 2 groups of 3 cars fighting with each other. Shibata diving down the inside of Uematsu for 2nd position, and that's where he would stay. He couldn't get past the Porsche that was so very slow down the main straight, but Takai defended so strongly he was able to hold on. And it was Bingo Racing victory number 1 for their new Porsche ahead of the Mercedes. much to the delight of Ukyo Sasahara. Big smiles down at Bingo Racing in LM Corsa. And now for the podium ceremonies. Make sure that if you fancy some more motorsport today on GT World, you tune into the racing at Dijon for the French Championship. We've also, of course, got Nürburgring 24 hours continuing on GT World. Bingo Racing, Uko Sasahara and Shinji Takai on the top step of the podium with son as well. Or is it daughter? No, it's daughter. Or it could be either. With child. Now, Mr. Uematsu, I said earlier on, hadn't been on the podium in an overall podium. He had actually quite a lot of podiums when he was on his own 2 years ago. But last year, when the level ramped up, he wasn't able to get on the overall podium. Him and Suzuki had a great time last year. And they were really entertaining when they got on the podium. It's all a bit more professional now, isn't it? Where's the big smile from Mr. Uematsu-san? The president of Sportsland Sugo presenting the trophies for us. And a big thank you once again to Sugo for hosting the opening round of Japan Cup. Always a great place to come. A little bit earlier this year, but actually weather was better. We raced at the second weekend of June last year, and we had rainy conditions, whereas the little kid runs away, doesn't want to get covered in champagne. Rather lazy champagne spraying. Everyone a bit slow for the uptake. And now the champagne sprays. Now don't forget that there is still an investigation ongoing into the number 9 as to whether they jumped the safety car period. So actually they're investigating the distance between the safety car and the leading car as being too great. So that's something to look out for. But the point between the two, just a single point between Mercedes and Porsche at the head of the standings, and one more point to the Cornes Racing Ferrari, tight at the top. So just to explain that then, you have to stay within a certain distance of the safety car up until the point the lights go out. And then you're allowed to drop back. And race control looking at whether Takai dropped back too early and therefore created too much of a gap to the safety car before we went racing. Got the jump, so obviously the jump is not the problem. It's before that. So be across our social channels. GT World Challenge Asia for the news, and the race report will come up on the website if there is a change in the result. Even a 5-second penalty is going to drop them down to 7th position, so it's with such a tight end to that race, it's going to be really tough. The Nissan flags are back. How lovely to see run up on the podium. Obviously, we had a retirement from Car Guy, the number 66. So only 3 AM cars finishing. And that meant the run-up Nissan does get himself a podium. To get the points, you have to finish. Great to have Spirit of FF Racing, though, in the Lamborghini. Hamaguchi, once again, doing such a strong job. And Okura, they're not quite, the thing is, they're not quite strong enough to be a Pro-Am lineup, but they're just 2 very good Am drivers, aren't they? Trophies all round then. And hope to see all of these cars back in Fuji. I expect we'll have a bigger grid in Fuji. We always tend to. Second weekend in July is the next opportunity for Japan Cup. Whether you've got yourself a GT3, you can actually... I think there's provision for a GT2 car to enter into the race, but certainly there is definitely provision for a GTC car. So if you've got yourself a 996 or 997 and fancy coming racing, there is a GTC category. And it'll be lovely to see this Japan Cup continue to grow as the champagne sprays on the Sugo podium. One more podium to come, which of course is our GT4 podium. I'm interested to see whether we see the number 44 car up on the podium. But before then, here are the points in the AM category, and the maximum points for Lamborghini, a full 50 for them, with the 45 with 36 points, and 2 finishes puts the Nissan in 3rd spot. I remember we had up to 3 Nissans last year in Japan Cup. We had the Oyagi father-son duo. Car Guy Racing don't get points for the second race because they retired. We still didn't get to the bottom of why they retired, but they did pull off quite quickly after Kimura took over that car. And my speculation is that perhaps there was contact between himself and Betty Chen, but race control didn't seem to see anything or notice anything undue because there was no investigation. And we didn't see anything either. Maya Orido on the podium with Kelvin Ho. So Team Pop Race are being recognised for 3rd position for taking the checkered flag, and therefore that means they do get points. So when we see other GT4 cars enter in the latter half of the year, that will be important for them. Big thanks to Dick Sell once again for the Race Queens and for their support in Japan Cup. Toyota Gazoo Racing also a supporter of the championship, as you can see from the banners behind. And now the champagne sprays for our final podium of Sugo. GT World Challenge Asia continues in the first weekend of June as they take their first trip to China and the Shanghai International Formula One circuit. Japan Cup will continue in Fuji in July as GT World Challenge Asia makes their way to Japan for the second half of the season. Look at that. Maya Orido helping out poor old Kelvin Ho. What a bad afternoon he's had. Not only did he crash, he can't get his own cork open. Oh dear. Well, thank you very much for joining us. All of those of you who are still with us on the stream. A pleasure to guide you through Japan Cup's races here at Sugo. Make sure you tune into everything else that's happening in the world of GT World over the next day, because there's still lots of action. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.